Come grab a seat in the front half of the room, up in the splash zone. Sorry. All right, y'all ready? I think it's about that time. Dave, can you spin that just a little bit for me? Turn it up a little. I'll turn it down from my phone. All right, y'all grab a seat so we can kick this thing off. We are getting started in the next minute. If you are a speaking sponsor, we need you in the front of the room. If you are standing, we need you sitting in a chair. We're going to get this thing started. Welcome, everybody. Speaking sponsors, if you're not at the front of the room, you're probably going to get skipped. Luckily, I pulled the graphic up, so hopefully I can name the people that aren't here properly. Oh, it's also behind me, I guess. Hopefully it'll be on the right slide. Sorry, this thing's choking me out. All right. Welcome, everybody. How y'all doing? So welcome to Masterclass Central Florida. This is session, I don't know, I miscounted. I thought it was 80-something, and apparently we're in the 70s. But we started this thing in 2018, so we've been doing it for a while now. And y'all give it up for that. I mean, that's pretty cool, right? So if you don't know what Orlando Real Producers is, we make a magazine. We rank the top 500 agents in Greater Orlando. We host awards. We host events. We do all sorts of stuff for them. And it's all put on by referral partners who are referred by top 500 agents. So basically everyone you could possibly meet in this room is referred by another agent that sells a ton of real estate, that performs in the top 2.5%. So whether they do lender or mortgages or title, or they're an inspector or they're a photographer, whatever, they're not here by accident. Estate sales, it doesn't matter. They represent the best of the best. And so long time ago, when we launched this thing in 2017, it was just a little idea. We had done it in Indianapolis for a year. We spread to a few other markets, and Real Producers wasn't really figured out. So we kind of pioneered a lot of the stuff here in Orlando. It's now spread to 150 markets all across the country, and we're actually hosting our first national event September 29th and 30th in Dallas. So if y'all want info about it, Tom Ferry's the keynote speaker. We've got Rory Vaden, who's like my favorite author. I'm pretty shocked he's speaking. Molly Bloom. Anyone ever seen Molly's Game? Molly Bloom speaking at the conference too. I'll be speaking at the conference. Ken Posick speaking at the conference. There's a whole bunch of badass agents, and basically the top 500 agents from 125 markets around the country were all invited to come join us in Dallas. So if you want info, just pull out your phone real quick and just go to RP, the letters RP, like Real Producers, elevate.com. RP Elevate. That's ELEVATE for those that were struggling with it. RPelevate.com. That was just a joke. At least I got Ray laughing this morning. Well, welcome everybody. So we're going to kick this thing off, but basically, long story short, we have about 85, 90 preferred partners who are referred by top agents, but a handful of them stepped up to make this event happen each and every month. And the reason we do this is that we were doing parties 4 times a year for the top 500, and people would see them on social, and they'd be like, how do I get an invite to the party? Or why wasn't I invited? And I didn't feel good being like, well, just sell more and you'll make the list. Like, I don't pick that you're not on the list. I don't even know who's on the list. We just pull it and we send it. Like, I didn't know you were skipped until you told me you were skipped. But you should, you know better than I do why you didn't sell more last year. So that wasn't always a great answer. So what we realized was that we could put agents that ranked in the top 500 on a stage to teach exactly what they're doing to everyone else, so that they would build a bridge between the real estate world and the agents who ranked in the top 2.5. So we started this thing, I don't know, May 2018, and we're still doing it. It's still going strong. So give all the partners and give yourselves a round of applause for coming out. And if you want this to keep going, bring your friends out next month. Just make sure that they're also agents. And Anyway, all right, I got a handful of people that stepped up. I'm going to let them all speak for just a minute, which is not long enough for them to tell you everything they should, but it's long enough for you to find them on social, follow them, take a picture, make sure you meet them after. Is that cool? So if y'all get anything out of today's session, can everybody here agree that you'll reach out to somebody that sponsored this event, then meet somebody, tag somebody, have a conversation with somebody? If that's a reasonable expectation, say, oh yeah? Sweet. Dave, you got that on video? All right, sweet. I'm going to mention a few of the partners that aren't here, but I'll let you guys talk first. So, Heather, why don't you kick us off? Yeah, button on the left.
Hey, what's happening? Hey, everybody, how are you? It's going to be an awesome week. Always start with positive because we are too blessed to be stressed. That's the line. Just remember it. So, pillar to post to Jeff Mackey team, home and commercial inspections. I just want to mention something really quick. We were in a room with Orlando Regional. I'm sure you guys know them. Last week at about 40 commercial and just realtors in different areas, different sectors. And it's so interesting what you can learn in a room where you feel like maybe there's nothing there for you. You're wrong. There's always something there for you. There's always a reason and a season, right, and a time for you to be here. So I'm not asking for anything today. You guys know me. You know I do home inspections. We do commercial inspections. But it's really gratitude. I'm grateful. My ask is nothing. My line is, hey, I'm grateful for you guys today. Have a wonderful Holy Week. And if you have any questions, you guys know where to find me. And in the meantime, I'm passing off to my friend that makes the best coffee ever through Einstein. Yes, there you go.
I mean, Einstein's not here, but I am.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Christy Keene with DeVore Design. We do anything you can think of to market your listings, whether it be media, whether it be websites, etc. I am here with a little Easter present for everybody. Stop by the table. It's not just the coffee. If you scan that QR code or the one that will eventually be up here, you'll have $75 off. New customers, current customers, old customers, don't care. You get a little break this Easter week. Have fun today, guys.
Love it. Hey, before Mike goes, we're going to give a 1, 2, 3 clap to all these sponsors. So let me just name the sponsors that aren't here today. We'll do a 1, 2, 3 clap. We'll let them bring us home. So we got Blue Haven Pools and Spas. They're the largest home builder in the South, or pool builder in the Southeast. If you don't know Blue Haven, make sure you reach out to them. We've also got Florida Home Photo, Mosin's team with Florida Home Photo. We got Shea Walker Photography, one of the best branding photographers in town. We've got Apex Title Group, and we've got the Apex Group at Guaranteed Rate. Y'all stop naming your stuff Apex. There's like 10 of you now, and it's a great name, but I'm just saying it's not that original anymore, so don't copy them. We've got Assured Partners. We got Artesian Title, and I think that's everyone. Oh, and Sorensen Moving and Storage. So let's give them a 1, 2, 3 clap on 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, Mike, keep going.
Thank you, Aaron. I'm Mike Schmidt with Central Florida Building Inspectors. We do commercial and residential building inspection. But I'm not going to talk to you about that today. I'm going to talk to you about why you should go to Instagram, and remember this part, at CFB Inspect. We recently invested in a crawl space robot because some of us are not slender enough to get into them. And we want to name this wonderful piece of technology that we invested in to better help your clients. So, for the next 2 weeks, we're running a contest to come up with names for it. Some of the ones that we've come up with are Crawl Rudd, Cave Chappelle, Scurry Cruise, Tunnel Swift. So if you think you have a name for it, please tag us with yourself, either a little video, a picture with the name that you have on it. And if your name makes it to the general poll that we're going to put out to the public, we'll send you out a gift card. So take care, thank you. And remember, it's at CFB Inspect.
Love it. Let's keep rolling. Y'all give them a round of applause.
Good morning, everyone. Kurt Kramer with Sorensen Moving. We're an agent for Mayflower Van Lines. We are located in Orlando. I handle all of Central Florida, and I do everything on the residential side of the business. Next week, I am packing up and moving somebody to France. They're going to be storing for 2 months, then they're going to be headed out to France. So the reason I tell you that is we're not just a local mover. We're not just an interstate mover. We're a global moving company. So let me help you. Let me help your clients. Thank you.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm Scott Fosgate. For those of you that I don't know, I hope to know soon. I'm with Atlantic Bay Mortgage Group. So I do mortgages, right? That's the deal. But what I want to talk about is consistency. It's a word that just came to mind last night. We all need to be consistent, right? In different areas of our business, different areas of our life. And consistency builds trust, right? So I want to urge you guys to be consistent in the partners or the vendors you partner with, consistent in your social media, right? We all know advertising's got to be consistent to make an impact and make a splash. Find people that you want to grow and be consistent with. That's my urge to everyone. I think it helps us build longevity. And again, trust in what we do. So thank you all. Appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Hey, y'all, speaking of consistent, Scott Fosgate's been a partner of Orlando Real Producers for 100 months now. Can y'all give him a round of applause for that? One of the OG partners. So he brought it up. He teed it up. I had to hit it home. So anyway, y'all ready to start this thing? Real quick, before we get this thing kicked off and I bring some people up, I want to know why you're here today. So I need a few answers, like what did you want to get out of today? What did you expect to get out of it? Because honestly, I'm not an agent, so if we don't talk about what you wanted, it's because you didn't tell me that's what you wanted to talk about. So anyone have something? Someone yell it out. Somebody tell me why you're here. Because I asked you to. All right, that's a decent answer. How about over here? Anybody? Learn some trade. See, the guy on the panel knows why he's here. Learn some trade secrets. Here. Who else? Different ways to generate leads. All right. Anyone else? Nobody has any investing aspirations? Real estate investing aspirations? All right. Well, then I'm just going to ask whatever I want to ask. You got something for us? Collaborate. All right. All right. Well, if you think of something and you have my number or social, you could try to send me a message, and maybe I'll get it, and maybe I'll ask your question. But if not, I'm going to ask a whole bunch of questions we already all talked about. But I gave you all a chance. Steven, you got something? You came here for a reason? That is a great answer. Y'all give him a round of applause for that one. Anybody else here to learn how to build a legacy for your family? All right, a few of you, a lot of you. All right, let's start off, speaking of families, let's just start off. I surprised Gil by telling him I wanted to put both of them on stage this morning, but I'm going to have a few different groups of people, and we're going to move them around. Y'all stay flexible. We're going to kind of go with the flow. Instead of doing a panel and going really surface level on 4 or 5 people, I want to have quick interviews where we go deep, and you guys take a lot, you get a lot of nuggets from them, and then we switch them out. And maybe if we have time at the end, you can ask questions to all of them, but I'm just going to switch them out, go with the flow until they teach you a bunch of cool stuff. Is that cool? So first group we're going to bring up is Gil and Lorena Ramos. They manage a team. She's a former real estate attorney that's now retired. Gil runs a team that has how many people in your downline? 2,000 people in his downline, but how many people on the team? Great. So 17 people on his direct team selling what they sell last year? About $80 million. And so one of the best trainers, leaders I know in the market, they're also avid real estate investors, and they're going to talk about how they built their portfolio even when it was tough and how they work together on it. So let's just bring them up. Let's give a giant round of applause to Gil and Lorena Ramos. By the way, how many children? 5, 6? 6. I knew it was a crazy number. All right, let me put you guys on this side if that's cool. Dave, tell me if I screwed you up moving these chairs too much. Yeah, if you guys could take those 2 seats. We're going to play a lot of musical chairs today, and hopefully it's going to work out for the camera guy. And if not, my bad, bro. So, should have marked the X's on the stage. Let's start off by, let's talk about your real estate investing journey. Where are you at right now? How many properties do you guys have? Give me kind of like an overview.
We currently have about 8 properties that we own.
Back, like 2 inches. Sorry. There we go. Just so you're not blocking her.
Oh, blocking me.
No, you're good. You're good. My bad. I thought that was going to be easier. I forgot. He's a big dude.
Yes. Anyway, so we currently have about 8 residential properties right now.
Okay. But you guys told me you have some rules for how you invest, so and how many you're willing to hold at a time. I know you've made some commercial plays. You flipped a commercial space. We shot the 35 under 35 at the West Art District a few years ago, right? Tell us a little bit about the overview. If you hit that button on the left of there, hit the left button, it'll turn green.
All right, so let me break this down because I remember being broke with my wife, and our story started. My house was in foreclosure. I don't even know how I figured out to buy this house, but I couldn't figure out to keep paying on it, and her car was being repossessed. So I want you guys to know that when we made a decision to start investing, we weren't in our best situation whatsoever, right? But we did make a decision, right? And I think that that is the genesis of anything that's great. So we decided, you know what? We met this guy. He made us, he's like, hey, listen, if you guys want a roadmap to having the wealth you want for your family, you've got to follow a plan. I was like, well, great, give me a plan. So that's all that happened. He wrote us a plan, a one-page plan, and it sounded something like this. If you are in real estate and you guys are seeing these great deals, why not pick up one deal per year, right? You go taking all these listings, you're going to see some of the best deals. And he was right. You know, we would see these people who were maybe, you know, a little abuelita who had a house in Kissimmee, Florida, and she's like, I just want to get X amount for it. And we started presenting ourselves to the position to buying some of these properties. And one of the first properties we bought was for $35,000, and we couldn't even get a loan for it. So I talked to an investor. I was like, just give me a 1-year loan, and I'll pay this loan off in 1 year. And I'm like, that sounds great, but how are we going to do that? Like, and that was really the first thing that we started. And we kind of try to keep our group at 10 properties at all times. And that's kind of our number, to keep it at 10. And we buy some commercial properties here and there, but we buy one property every year, if not 2. In fact, if she let me, I'd probably buy 3. But she's pretty strict on that. We got kids to feed.
So if I'm hearing you right, you aggressively decided you had to make a move, whether you had the money or not, found a way to do it, and you've continued to buy at least a property or 2 a year. Is that what I'm hearing?
Hi. Yes. Yes. So that's really what it was. It was made a decision for us. We got together as a couple and said, okay, what's the best avenue for us? How do we align in what the vision is, right? Because as couples, or if you're in a relationship, everybody has their own blueprint for money. So it's about really understanding what your blueprint is. Where did that come from? Is it something? Wow. Okay. Is it something that was instilled in you by your parents, something you saw, or is it your own fears, right? I had very different blueprint for money than Gil did at that time. Mine was more set on fear of like, oh my God, if I have it, I'm gonna lose it. Where he was very aggressive, like, F it, like, just go for it. So we really had to decide, like, how are we gonna do this together? So I don't freak the hell out all the time, but yeah, we still get the comfort of being able to invest. So it was really a decision of figuring out that, aligning together, and then creating a plan and sticking to that plan religiously, regardless of anything. Like, that's where our money went. It wasn't luxurious trips. It wasn't anything like that. In the beginning, when we were investing, like he said, like, we were coming from a place where you would think we were crazy trying to buy a secondary home when our primary home was in foreclosure. You're like, what? No, like, save your house, right? But I believed in the plan. I believed in the vision, and we both had that mindset. So we did. That was our first property. We ended up selling that one eventually. We bought it for $35,000. Of course, the market back then was lower, but we ended up selling it for $222,000 after having full cash flow for 8 years on it.
That's awesome. Tell me about, Gil, you had said something about not trying to look wealthy, trying to be wealthy. I don't remember the exact phrase, but you know what I'm trying to ask you.
Yeah, I think that one thing that if you want to write this down, that was a philosophy that we had to kind of come into was that, and it's probably 2 things, but the first thing is we make money so we can spend money on things that make us money. And that was kind of our blueprint.
Hold on. Say that again.
That was kind of our blueprint, right? So we make money so we can spend money on things that make us money. So once you have a philosophy, you know how to double check how you're spending your money. Like, you buy a latte, a caramel macchiato this morning, that didn't make you money. But if you put an escrow on a property over in Pine Hills, that can make you money, right? And we looked at it from our standards. We have like I call it my 18-karat gold investing strategy. And I invest in stocks, about 4% of my income, 6% of my income in stocks and bonds. And I do 8 to 10% of my income in real estate. And then a big part of our investment is in ourselves, right? We do a lot of Tony Robbins. We go to events so we can learn new skills and be around people who can also expand our thoughts, right? So you got to have those 3 kind of buckets in your. I know when those commission checks, we're like, okay, let's go to Bali and let's go to all these. We call the Instagram life. We've never done that. You know, we've never done it. You've never seen us go to Tulum or anything like that. And they look gorgeous, but we haven't earned that yet, right? So one thing I always say is, like, we don't want to rent the life. We want to earn the life. So that was another philosophy that we had to do. And when you're in a couple, as a relationship, and you're making decisions together, you got to have principles. My wife teaches, one of the things about my wife is special is that she was the #1 divorce attorney in Central Florida. Award-winning, won all the awards, but it wasn't fulfilling her. And then she realized along the way, after filing thousands of people's divorces, like, you know what? I actually know why people are getting divorces. So she created a coaching company called Affluent in Love to help people stay in their marriages, right? So what that means is once you get alignment, everything starts to work, right? And I think that in the beginning we were fighting about like who does this, what are we going to do, even on our real estate team, until we got alignment. I will tell you the first thing in you guys hitting your goals in becoming an investor, you better be aligned with somebody else who has the money with you, right? If you share money with someone else, you better be in alignment in how you spend money, because then you don't double check it. You don't question it, right? Like 'cause everything is working towards the one singular goal to make money so we can have a legacy for our family, so we can have the peace and tranquility that we want. And then we'll go to Instagram likes, places, and stuff like that, right?
I love that. So what I got was once you get in alignment, everything works. And I heard that you don't want to rent the life, you want to have the life. But give me the quote again at the start. We spend money, we earn money to.
You
give me-
make money
We
so
make
that
money.
you can spend money on things that make you money.
You make money so you can spend money on things that make you money. I love
we have
it.
our kids chanting that like we're a damn cult, okay?
And
like I legit have a whole video like we make money so we can spend money on things that make us money. So, yes.
I love it.
My
And
kids
you had said, go ahead.
Now my kids are like hustling now, like they're like they've got these 3D. They got a 3D printer for Christmas, and they're like bringing like things to, like, hey man, give me $20. Like,
Love
and I'm
it.
like, that's great. You figured out how to make money, but what are we going to do with that money? So that's we're kind of elevating that thought, right? So all of you guys are hustlers. You wouldn't be in this business if you weren't, right? But you have to understand why we hustle. We hustle because we're looking for the same thing. We're all looking for the same thing. It's called freedom. We want to do what we want, when we want, and with whom we want to, right? And that takes some discipline. You don't get to start that on day one. So you have to believe, there's a great story that Tony Robbins talks about, and it's a treasure hunt, right? And this guy goes out for a treasure hunt, and he goes out there for 4 years. He gets everybody in his family, hey, I'm going to find this treasure. I got a treasure map. Give me all your money. And they're like, okay, we'll give you some money. He goes to treasure. How much treasure does he find? Nothing. 4 more years. He goes like, hey, I need some more money. He goes back to his family. He's like, imagine going back to your family, like, hey, all that money you gave me, I lost it. But give me some more money, and I'm going to go find this treasure. I got this treasure map. I'm going to go out there and find it. Nothing. 8 years in, he continues to go out there. Son joins in, helps him with the treasure, because like now he's just borrowing bodies to help him. Son dies on the treasure hunt in year 10. Year 12's nothing. Year 16 finds the treasure. And what Tony Robbins says is, what do you have to believe to continue to look for that treasure? Well, first off, you got to believe that the treasure's there, right? He had to believe in his heart the treasure was there. The second thing you have to believe is that you're the person to find it. And the third part is that it's worth it. And on this journey of investing, you have to understand it's not sexy, right? Sometimes you're going to make $100 a month on a property you bought for $400,000, but you got to know that it's worth it.
So what I got was, it's there, it's worth it, you'll find it. Is that right?
It's there, you're the man to find it, and it's worth it.
Also, by the way, if you stay in that mic, because there's people on Zoom that can't hear you
Okay,
when you're
gotcha,
loud enough.
gotcha.
I don't want to forget to say that. Dave will tell me at the end. I forgot to tell people. But yeah, it's there, it's worth it, and you're the person to find it. I love it. Tell me about your rules for investing, because we've only got a few more minutes with the two of you, and I want to talk about some of the rules you use for investing, where you put your money, where you don't. In fact, I'm going to ask all of you about the rules you play by, because I think that everyone in this room probably wants to know like how you actually make the decisions, not just what did you buy and what have you done. I want to hear how you make the decisions, and then don't let me forget, because I want to hear about the West Art District.
Well, I mean, Gil kind of briefly spoke about it. The decisions are we put a percentage of our income into stocks. He's very aggressive on that. Like I said, he's more aggressive, I'm more conservative, so we balance each other out. But like, he will allow his account to, I'll be like, babe, that shit said low, right? Like, I saw it said low, and then I go into the account, and it's like, Robinhood, 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 and I'm like, okay, like, so he does stocks, we have bonds.
He's stealing from the rich, giving it to the poor.
Yeah, I guess. So we have lots of stocks. I mean, he'll be the stock guy. We have foreign bonds, and we have real estate. And then the number one thing that we invest in is ourselves, because obviously none of that would work if we didn't believe that we had the capability of doing it. Because number one thing I can tell you guys before you start jumping into investment is mindset. If you do not believe that you can do it, if you go in fearful, is this going to be the right property? Am I going to rent it? How much do I have to spend to fix it? What if the renters trash it? Which will happen, and that's okay, right? Like Gil said, sometimes we only make $100 per the property, but it's not money now. is long-term investments for us. We see the future, right? When we retire in the next 5 to 10 years, we'll have 10, 12, 13 properties that are paid off that give us full cash flow. Our children are going to inherit a great deal of money. When we went into this, buying that first property, we had to believe that we can reach those goals. So it's, your mindset is what's going to get you your feeling gets you your action, and then your action gets you results. So really go into it with the idea that you are going to create a legacy for your family and comfort for your retirement, because we're in a business that if you're not investing in yourself, no one's giving you a 401k. No one's filling up your Roth IRA, right? So you are your own business. So where are you going to put your money so that one day you can stop working? So we're not working until our 70s, right? So we retire young. You guys have first dibs on these properties, right? When you're out there listing them or have someone in your office that's listing them, consider yourself first before you're going out looking for a buyer. Because you can put your commission towards that. That's your down payment. You can negotiate better for yourself than you can negotiate for anybody. So always think of yourself, is this a good property for me? If you're pitching it to somebody else, then believe that dream for yourself as well.
Yeah, you know what else we had to believe? That, first off, you have to believe that you're an investor agent, right? Which was tough for me because I didn't have the money. I could believe that, I could do it, I could manage the property, right? But you have to understand, when you have a great deal, the money is the easiest part to find. There's always somebody who's willing to partner with you if you've got a great deal, right? Like, I tell you right now, you could have $50 in your pocket, but if you found a $200,000 4-bedroom, 2-bath in Windermere, you're going to figure out how to get the cash, right? Somebody's going to give you the money. Like, I'll give you the money. Like I'll partner on that deal, right? But the reality is, like, you have to believe that you're the one. And that's the very first thing. That's why spending so much money on investing on yourself is important, right? So what do you have to believe? You're an investor agent. You got to say that. My wife has a tattoo on her arm. Only one.
Only one. He only let me get one.
It says, I am. And it's the most important thing that you can start doing every single day, is telling yourself who you are in your identity and letting your universe prove it right? Because the universe will start giving you opportunities to prove who you are. And all you got to do is say yes to that.
Love it. Gil, let me get the rest of your rules. I want to make sure we go through them. How do you pick a deal? How do you say no to a deal? How many deals do you do a year?
All right. So
what are the things?
So on a very basic level, like, I try to keep things in my life very simple. So whenever I buy a property, this is just my maybe laziness too, is I don't buy anything far from me, right? If I live in Winter Garden, I'm not buying Sanford, right? I want my properties to be somewhat close to me. I don't buy in the Dominican Republic. There are great deals there, right? There are great deals everywhere. And that's the first thing you have to understand, is I buy things off the 408 because I'm lazy. Like, that's like, if my office is in downtown, I live in Winter Garden, most of my properties are somewhere in between there, right? So I can just check in on them if I want to. I don't buy things that are wood. I try to stay away from condos, right? So I try to buy things, because here's the deal. Remember when I asked you, what would you have to believe? What would you have to believe to take $80,000 of your account and buy a property that's only going to make you $100 a month? Like, you kind of feel like a failure if you don't understand that you're an investor agent. If your belief is there, you don't feel it. You know that you're winning. Here's why. Rent has never gone down since 1988, not $1. Since 1988, rent has continued to go up, but that mortgage that you're buying right now is going to stay the same. So that gap will increase over time. It'll be $200, $300, $700, $1,800 making on a single property as that property starts to pay itself off, and the rent increases. And on top of that, what cryptocurrency doesn't do for me, and stocks don't do for me, it also pays me equity value, right? So I get a bigger spread the longer I own it, and I also get equity. So it's super, super important. I buy things that are going to stick around. Like, I don't mind buying a property that's 50 years old, because if it lasted 50 years, it's probably going to last another 50, right? And the last thing I kind of look at is I'm a big believer in new construction hacking. When you guys see a new community, don't they raise the price every week?
Every face they're lifting. So go
right. So when you see a community with 1,000, how many? Do the math. They're probably going to raise it 80 times. So I buy my equity right off the bat. So I buy that first property in a community, and we've done that for our own personal residence. We've done that on some of our other investments. And don't they give away the farm on that first one? Don't they do like closing costs and higher commissions and stuff like that? And I don't even have to pay for that property for 6 months. I got to wait till they build it, right? So I've done that before. I was like, okay, here's my little escrow I'm going to put down, which, by the way, I'm going to put my commission down for part of that as well. And I'm going to just buy into that community, and I'm going to let it kind of build out. And I don't have any problems with that property because it's brand spanking new, right? Sometimes the rent ratio is not the same, right? So I don't get a huge rent on those properties, but I'm going to get good equity. So as an investor, you're looking for both of those. You're looking for cash flow, and you're looking for equity. Us, we're big equity players.
Love it. I got 2 more minutes with you guys, but I want to ask you because I'd be silly not to ask you about it. What, in all your experience as a divorce attorney and in meeting and talking about this, what are the biggest problems that you see that people are coming or getting divorced over, and how does handling your finances and your wealth building affect that?
Yeah. So a lot of people are going to think that the number one reason for divorce is cheating. It absolutely is not, right? A lot of people are like, oh no, by the time you're cheating, there was breakage way before that. So honestly, as much as I've said the word right here on the stage, it's not having alignment. It's both of you not working towards the same vision. So you have your own growth, he has his own growth. You know, he believes one thing about money, you believe one thing about money. Where you want a vacation versus it's all different. It's really about sitting down and understanding, hey, this is what we want at the end for our family. This is the end goal, right? How do we get there? You need to create the roadmap together. When people came to me, 15 years of heavy litigation as a divorce attorney, there was a lot of marriages that probably could have been saved if they would have just sat down and talked about what their future looked like together early on. But there's a lot of expectations that we set on one another that we are never really communicated. Like, I want something from Gil, but I never told him what that was. So when he fails on it, I hold him accountable for failing to an expectation that I never gave him, right? I never communicated that. So we have resentment. And then they don't understand why you're all pissy. And it's because he didn't do what you wanted him to do, that he didn't know he had to do. So,
You can't read minds.
yeah.
How do
Yeah.
you have that conversation?
So it's
In like a 60-second overview, because it's probably not long enough.
right. Well, one thing that me and Gil do every single year is we meet at the end of December, towards the end of December, and we go towards our one-year goals. What is it that we want to accomplish this year, right? Where do we want a vacation? Who do we want a vacation with? We vacation by ourselves more than we vacation with our children. I don't care. You need it. Your children are going to grow up. They're going to leave. And then you're stuck with this person for the rest of your life, right? Your children are going to have. So you need to create magical memories and stay connected with him. Your kids get 1, maybe 2 vacations. You guys should be doing 4 at minimum, right? And my kids know it because they already, oh, you're leaving with daddy? Or bye. They don't care because we've set those standards early. So we talk about what that looks like. Where's our money going? Who do we need to invest? This year investment, our daughters are going off to college. So we're like, okay, our investment's gonna be a home in Tampa, right? I don't wanna put them in the dorm. Dorms cost $2,000 a month per child. We have twins, that's $4,000. That's more than a mortgage. So what are we doing? We're buying a house. We're not paying for dorms, right? So, and then they're gonna rent the room, and then they're gonna pay for it. So we talk about these things. What do we want for our family this year? So it's family set goals. Every single year we do it. I have a little Trello sheet that I go through it. Is that what?
They rate each other.
Oh,
All
yeah,
right.
we do
I got to
rate
hear
each-
about the rating each
we
other.
do
I mean,
rate
I can't
each
cut you
other.
off there.
So a long, long time ago, when we went to Tony Robbins, he taught us about the human needs, and that we all have 6 human needs. So in the beginning, when we learned about it, we thought it was funny, and we started rating each other in the car on the way to the event. And I was like, well, where do you think you're filling my significance need? He's like, dude, like, I'm killing it. Like, he's like, that's like an 8. I was like, you're such a -3 right now. And he's like, what? And I was like, yeah, you're like 0. And it was shocking to see because he thought he was killing it. And I'm like, you're not even doing it for me. So.
All right, that's Gil and Lorena. No, I'm just kidding.
I didn't mean like doing it like that. Like, I didn't mean like, I'm just saying, like, we hold, he thought he was doing something because he was fulfilling my need of significance the way he thought I wanted it, and it wasn't translating, right? And the certainty and uncertainty and all these things. So we go on these dates, and every once in a while we remind ourselves, like, hey,
Talk about it.
where are we at, right? And then we go through it. Over the years, our numbers have increased and stayed consistently high because we do check each other. And now we're like, well, what do you mean I'm not an 8? What do I need to be? What do I need to do to get to that number, right? And listen, I'm not talking crap because I was very negative too, although I thought I was like a positive 20. And he's like, yo, no, right? So, but it's a realization of understanding how do I communicate what do I do in my actions to fulfill his needs the way he wants them fulfilled, and vice versa.
This is a very.
I got to let you get the
Myself,
last word,
hold on.
right?
No, this is very serious. This is very serious because she mentioned. I'm not even gonna go there. Like, she mentioned something that could be happening to you in your relationship and could help hurt your investing. If you're not in alignment on these things, what's going to happen is they're going to hold you back on something else. And you're going to find that there's two parts of those human needs. If you go look them up, is growth and contribution. And I think those are probably the two human needs that are probably the most important ones, right? That you're growing together. So in our real estate world, sometimes we do these great conferences and great things, and we learn all this stuff. We come back home and we're like, oh man, I learned, you're on cloud nine. They're like, yo, I've been waiting for you with the kids. There's dishes in the fucking sink. Like, go mow the lawn, right? So like doing these events together and growing together will allow you to unlock things. It'll allow you to unlock things in the future. Like, it'll allow you to create a new identity. So alignment's super important. Like, I don't know if anybody else is going to talk about that, but like that's our message to you guys. If you want to have the investments, if you want to have the legacy, talk about it. None of my nieces and nephews are allowed to rent. All my nieces and nephews, all my kids over 18 years old own homes, right? All of them. That's a standard. When you create that standard to yourself, your family's legacy will follow. My kids don't need to worry about when I'm going to die. They're already building their legacy, and that's another thing. It's like I don't need them. Like, I need them to go out there and do things. So all my nieces and nephews own homes. That's our standard. We don't allow anything less. Create the identity you want, and just allow the universe to support that.
Love it. Let's give it up for Gil and Lorena Ramos. Lorena, did you want to add? Was there something you wanted to say?
No, he got it. He did good. He did good.
All right, perfect. All right, let's rotate out. I might bring you guys up at the end if there's more time, but I'm not positive yet. How many of y'all learned something from that session? Make some noise. If you didn't get some nuggets, then I don't know why you're here, because that was full of them. All right, let's bring up Mario. And then I'm going to bring up the two of y'all. I'm going to bring you guys in, so don't worry. Mario, I'm going to give you the simple one. What'd you sell last year? Or give me a couple stats so I can brag about you. I know you texted me a whole bio, but, you know. Mario's been in our top 100 agents probably every year for the last, I don't know, as long as we've ranked them probably. Every single year he's in the top 500. I bet he's probably in the top 100. What else? He ran a team. Now he kind of does his own thing. He's transitioned to investing.
Check. Yeah, you hear me. Okay. So yeah, last year I think I sold 10 or 12 million in real estate, which is kind of my average over the last couple of years.
He's opened and sold 2 brokerages, 15 years in the business.
Yeah, so I've been 15 years in the business, started 2 brokerages. One I sold to a partner, the other one transitioned over to Compass to give me a nice package to come with them, which is great. Since then, I actually built houses. About 4 years ago, I approached one of my uncles that was building some houses on the side. So I asked him, hey, can you teach me how to do this? So we ended up partnering up, and we've built 6 properties so far. I think last year we built 3. We sold 2. And last year I also took initiative. I said I'm going to concentrate a little bit more in flipping. I was able to flip 3 properties last year. And also took initiative and start doing some private lending. Did 1 loan this year, and so far I'm 3 loans in for the year.
Well, grab a seat, pull your chair up. Let's get this thing going. Y'all give him a round of applause for being up here. I gave you the weirdest intro ever, but we're going to keep going if you want.
Yeah, so I'm going to address a question. Steve, was it? You said something about a legacy, right? Like you will leave a legacy behind. And the one thing I'll tell you is, you know, if you truly mean it and you want to be, leave a legacy behind, you need to be the one person in your family that takes that initiative, the one person that Gil and Lorena, right, that is going to become the go-to authority for anything, big decision-making that's going to affect that family. You need to be the one. I'm very fortunate that, you know, my great-grandfather came here in the 1920s, and although I was born in Albania and my family comes from Albania, he was able to work his butt off over here, somewhere in D.C., I imagine, and send back money and ended up, you know, having my grandfather become a U.S. citizen, move here to the States back in 2000, right? So that guy, my great-grandfather, was the one for the family. I never met him, but he gave me the opportunity to come here and kill it and be the one for my family here, right? So my family, everybody, like I'm like the freaking general for them, right? They come to me when it comes to anything real estate related or financial related, because I want to be the authority that's leading everybody to a brighter future.
So, love it. So, while you're selling a ton of real estate, you're also pivoting to investing and doing other things. Tell me about some of the rules that you play by when it comes to investing, how many properties you buy, what your end game is, that type of thing.
Yeah,
The
so
10 properties in 10 years
Yeah,
thing,
yeah,
all
yeah,
that.
yeah. So I currently have 10 rentals. Majority of them are paid off, and that's kind of my base. So it's bringing in enough healthy income to where I can concentrate on other activities. So I've shifted my direction now to doing more renovations and more flips, bringing in more money in.
How many years did it take you to acquire 10 properties?
So I got into this game back in 2010 as an investor actually, and I bought my first 2 properties. I liked it, so then I ended up becoming an agent. So probably since 14, 15, I've been buying 1 property a year.
How many people got into real estate because you wanted to be a real estate investor and then you became a realtor? Isn't that interesting how many people that happens to?
Yeah, and now we're flipping it like the real estate agent can be just an agent or it can be an entrepreneur, right? You could be the agent investor that Gil mentioned, right? And then grow from there. So my goal is 10 properties now brings in good income. I don't have to worry so much about the next commission check. I can concentrate on creating more money-making activities, bringing in more money faster. So eventually I can grow from 10 to 15 properties and 15 to 20, right? But with the end goal is retiring early and having the financial freedom to do whatever the hell I want to.
Can I add something to that?
Sure.
You also get to control your business more. Well, you don't need to make the next sale because you have other income. You don't need to work with whoever you can. You don't need to take a listing that's too far from your house or not within whatever. You can set the parameters of the types of people you want to work with, the ways you want to generate your leads, the types of people you want to turn away or refer out versus being desperate to just get a deal closed because you need commission. Is that
Yeah,
fair?
it sounds like you be calling your own shots in life, right? And isn't that a
Exactly.
great feeling? Like
Exactly.
that gives you the freedom to be, I don't want to drive half an hour or 1 hour away on a listing appointment for something that's overpriced.
Speaking of driving an hour away, let's hear about your rules for investments and
Yeah,
what you say
so
yes to and don't.
I
'Cause
try-
I know that's one of them.
Yeah. So one of them is 30 minutes away from the house or 10 miles from the house. So they need to be close enough to where if I miss it, I go, rub myself on it. I don't know. So yeah, it needs to be close enough.
So you only invest within 30 minutes of your house?
Yeah. Invest in rentals, right? For flipping, get a little flexible, but it can get messy. So still 30 minutes
What
or
happens
10
when
miles.
you break your rules?
If you break your rules, you start regretting it.
You got a story, right?
And I did break my rule in one of them. I ended up buying a house in DeLand, which is about 45 minutes away from the house. I have the house now for 9 months, and the rental has not gone the way I expected it. DeLand freaking sucks. Don't buy there. But yeah, I'm sorry to hear that city sucks.
If you want to buy there, call Precious Green.
Yeah.
She'll hook you up.
So anyways, I need to wrap that project up, but it's been a pain, and that's what happens when you go outside your comfort zone. Another one of my criteria is I got to love the layout. So you walk in there and not convince myself to buy the house, right? Because if I have to convince myself to buy the house, then when it hits the market, other people have to do the same. So that means my market pool of people that it appeals to is less. So I want to walk in there and be like, okay, I see this layout flowing nicely, great. If the numbers make sense, we'll buy it. Generally for rentals, I try to stay as close to the 10% mark.
Wait,
so
you skipped something I want to make sure you hit.
Okay.
Which is not just not convincing yourself to buy a house. You do what?
you try to convince yourself not to buy the house, right? Like, so if the neighbor sucks, now I'm like, I'm out. I don't want to deal with that, right? But that's the ability of being able to call your own shots in life. Like, I'm bringing in a certain amount of money in, but I also want to reduce my stress levels. I don't want to deal with some bullshit, because the neighbor decided to make what do you call it, the auto parts store out of the garage there, whatever it is. So, yeah.
So reducing your stress, controlling your lifestyle, those are some of the reasons that you stick to your rules.
Yeah.
Any other big rules for this list? Because then I'm gonna bring two other people, and I'll leave you up here if you want to jump in a little.
Yeah, no, certainly. I want to hear from them too. Sounds like they're doing some bigger deals. But yeah, essentially calling your own shots of life. And Gil and Lorena also mentioned like this Instagram thing, and the culture out there that's showcasing this lavish lifestyle. We all get caught up on that. Reality is it takes a lot of freaking hard work, man. But just put your head down and just keep on grinding. I see those people on Instagram and real estate agents, that they're doing lavishly and they're like mayors, unofficial mayors of Orlando. You know what I'm talking about, right? And then you look at their numbers and they're like 3 sales in the last 12 months. I'm like, that's great. That's a lot. But I call those peacocks that can't fly. They're just looking very pretty, but like no substance. Don't go anywhere. So put your head down, keep on grinding, keep on saving, buy a property every year. I also use this corny line, which is get high in your own supply, right? You are the first person to see these properties. A lot of the properties that I bought is I showed it to a buyer, and they didn't like it. And I'm like, the numbers make sense. Why wouldn't you buy it? So then I just end up buying it myself.
Love it. Who's your favorite sales manager or broker you've ever worked for?
Gil Ramos.
Let's give it up for Mario.
Thank you.
I had to put him on the spot there for a second.
No, but it's amazing, right? I know Gil now for a couple of years. We started out Exit Central.
I feel like I've known both of y'all for at least a decade.
Yeah, a decade plus, right? But like it's amazing to see both of us grow, right? And I was like a young buck in the industry back when it started, but now I'm like 15 years in, Gil's 20 years in, and we're both doing amazing things. And hopefully it's inspirational to the rest of you. Like, sky's the limit here. You know what I mean?
Let's hear about the portfolio, actually, before I bring up the next two. Tell me about what you're working on now and what the goals are next.
Yeah, so my goal consistently is to sell $10 to $12 million in real estate, which is not a lot considering I've been in the business for a while, but it's good enough to where you can make a good living, right? I have my rentals, just bringing a good, healthy income. I would like to do 8 flips this year. I'm under contract on 5 of them, or I've closed 2. I'm under contract on 4 more. And I would like to build and sell 3 new builds. And I would like to also do like 3 hard money loans.
So you're basically doing a manageable amount of each thing, it sounds like.
Yeah. But also diversifying my skill set, right? I started as an investor that bought 2 properties, then became an agent for a while. I understood the industry, became an expert, and now I can diversify my skill set, but all within still the same industry. You build your intuition to know what a deal feels right and what doesn't feel right. And a lot of times, you can pivot from that and like get into stocks, for example, because you just build that intuition when it comes to finance, when it comes to real estate, and you just the go-to authority.
You got to get into Forex. My buddy Mo ran into the guy that runs my fund yesterday, apparently. But that's a whole other story. Let me ask you a question. How do you manage your time between both? I mean, you're selling $12 million. Half this room isn't selling $10 or $12 million, and they're probably full-time selling. How are you managing both that and building, making acquisitions, stuff like that, managing tenants?
Honestly, it's chaos, man. But
Well, how do you
realizing
chaos?
this, like you're not gonna be able to avoid chaos.
You have
What
kids
you can
too,
do
right?
Yeah, I have a 5 and a 7-year-old. What you can do is be a good manager of chaos, right? I'm just gonna manage everything that's thrown at me. Like real estate offers flexibility, but in real estate you have to be rigid but flexible. Meaning, I have some shit to do today. It doesn't matter what time I'm gonna do it, but it's gonna need to get done today. So essentially you work on that, and a lot of times you fail, but as you hit new levels, it just becomes easier.
Love it. Any other words of wisdom you want to share with the crew, or anything you wish I asked you?
Get high on your own supply.
There's a lot of stuff between Gil's hustler kids and his get high on your own supply. I'm about to bring Bryan up. I'm just kidding. Let's give a round of applause to Mario, and let's bring up Bryan and Mo. If you want to just jump over a chair, or actually, yeah, just jump over a chair.
What kind of intro is that?
All right, actually, let me do this. Yeah. Let me pull you back up at the end. How about that? Love it. Y'all come over here. Y'all take these 2 chairs. Mo, Bryan, let's do this thing. They're both at Keller Williams Advantage. They're both top 500 agents. They both sell a ton of real estate, and they both transitioned into basically not wanting to sell as much residential real estate because they have giant dreams and aspirations and big visions, and they decided that they're not going to get there just selling real estate. And I'll let them talk a little bit about it. You want to jump right here if you have something to add?
I found it interesting that
Here, bro.
I found it interesting that, we all sell quite a bit of real estate, right? But like, we don't want to own a brokerage anymore. We don't want to, carry the weight of having to run trainings and whatnot. So I found it interesting that everybody on the panel here today does not necessarily run a brokerage. They're probably running teams, but not a brokerage directly.
Love that. That's an interesting observation. I'm gonna bring you back up in a second, too. But let's go. Whoops. All right, Dave. Sorry about your mic. All right, Mo. Let's start with you. Let's talk about your story as an agent. Give them a little overview. Like, you sell a lot of real estate. About how much real estate do you sell, and how did you start becoming an investor, and what types of stuff have you worked on and are you working on?
Sure. So I started 10 years ago as a real estate agent. I moved to Orlando. I didn't know a single person, and I ended up selling over 50 houses my first year. So I was able to land myself in here. But I also started flipping my first year as well. My first year, I flipped 4 houses, and while I was an agent. So fast forward, I built a team. I was selling hundreds of houses a year. I think I've sold over $150 million in residential real estate. My best year, I sold 118 houses. And the truth is, looking back at it now, being in the same seat that you guys were in, I realized you could make a high income, higher than most, but you're not really going to be fully profitable, and you're not going to be able to set yourself free by being a real estate agent. So when I sold 52 houses my first year, I actually didn't save up enough money to pay my taxes, and I had to borrow against my life insurance policy to pay my taxes the first year. And then when I sold 118 houses, I ended up grossing over $1 million in commissions, but at the end of the year, I only took home like $336,000. Now, knowing what I know now as an investor, if I flipped like 4 houses a year, which I'll give you guys my formula, what I did to be successful and grow massive wealth, which anyone in this room can apply, because like Gil said, you guys are front line when you're meeting with the seller. And not everyone wants to put their property on the market or do a listing. Some people want a fast sale. So all I did was create like a plan, and my plan was very simple. It was flip 4 houses a year and make 10% profit on every house. So for example, the average house in Orlando is $400,000. So if you make it a goal to make $40,000 per flip, just do 1 every 3 months and just be intentional about it. That's $480,000 a year towards your bottom line, which is probably more than you're gonna make as an agent. And then if you do that plan for 10 years, that's $5 million. And I can tell you that you'd be done working in 10 years if you had $5 million in the bank. And the truth is, I started exactly where you guys are, and I was able to retire in 7 years.
Love it. Let's give him a round of applause. We'll come back to you. Bryan, let's hear about your journey.
Same. I think we started about the same time. I think Keller Williams, right? Well, that's the only place I've been at. Been there for 10 years. I think my story is a little extreme in regards to how it started. Well, it was in the magazine. I was incarcerated for 11 years, so I came out of prison, and I dreamed of being a real estate agent. I thought it was very prestigious. I thought it was something that I could, make a change, like everybody's been talking about, a legacy for their family. So I planned it, got into it. I was lucky enough to get my real estate license. Went through FREC for like 8 months to get approved, and it happened. So I always said, if I get my license, that's it. There's no turning back from that. And I've been doing it. I started my first year. I think I sold 13 houses in 2014. I think it was. Did okay. I thought it was horrible. I found out that most people didn't sell that many houses their first year. Went on to become top producer, I think, by my 3rd year. Had a few things happen after that. I started selling for Nation Star. I think it was Nation Star, yeah, selling foreclosures. So I got into selling about 50 properties a year. So I started getting really familiar and crafting the investment side from what I was seeing. So I would see guys would buy properties, flip them, fix them up, bring them back to me, say, hey, Bryan, sell them. And I'm making like $3,000, $4,000, and these guys are making $50,000, $60,000. I'm like, shit, wait. So I, just to say something before I forget, I learned this from John Chep like a few years back, and he talks about the distance between all successful people being The difference between all successful people is the distance. And it's not necessarily the physical distance, but the distance between the thought and the action, of that idea, right? So some people will have an idea and they act immediately, right? There's some people that have an idea and they never do, and they go years and years saying, man, I was gonna write that book, but the guy that wrote the guy that did it, maybe not even as good as you, 5, 6 years ago, 3 weeks ago, is way ahead of you and is succeeding, So that's what separates us all. So I started really like, I gotta act all the time. So once I realized that, I got into my first flip. I did my first flip with a partner. I had like maybe $60,000 to my name, and I said, man, I'm not gonna jump into this and just waste all my money. So I found, I analyzed that I became real good. So you have to become really good in your craft, because if you become really good in your craft, you can expand from that. You can go into different facets of real estate and really bring that asset with you into that side, and then, you provide more value in whatever side you go into. So that's what I did. I ended up, I got a pre-approved loan for American Express, personal loan, $40,000, you've been approved. So I learned about hard money, and I told my boy Ken, I said, man, Ken, you got 35,000? He said, yeah, I got it. He was a little bit ahead of me in the process. So for 75,000, I went to, what's the name of the place that I went with, Courtney? Lima Capital. I went with Lima Capital, got 100% approved for the thing. So anyway, I hit a home run, $100,000 profit on it, on the first flip. So I was like, shit, this is it right here. This is the play right here, right? So tragedy happened in my life. My daughter gets sick with cancer. My 3-year-old, she dies at 5. So, it's hard. It just changes everything. And I'm like, man, I can do this without having to be in front of people's faces all the time, the smile, I'm your favorite realtor type shit. I wasn't feeling it. My life changed, right? My life it just looked different at that point, right? Not that I wasn't happy, but I was struggling with a lot of things. So I said, man, I could just do this, analyze the deals, and be okay, make a living for my family, still continue on the path that I wanted to do. So I got into that, and I mean, I got really successful in the profit margins. They all made 70, 80,000 or better on these properties. They were all $400,000, $500,000 properties. We got to the point where we were doing 5 at a time. So that's when we started seeing the bigger push-throughs, and I got to a point where I ended up losing one, and this takes me into the next day. Can I just continue through the?
Yeah.
So,
I'll only cut you off if you go off the tracks.
So I ended up, we flipped tons of property. We, quite a few. Did well, and I was like, man, this has still got me going in the everyday, running around, all this other stuff. And, to add, you guys did great talking about, the synergy, all of y'all that's needed. But I don't want to work like that. I just don't. I don't look at life like that. I want to enjoy life, and I want to create a difference for my family in the way they think, not necessarily the money that they're going to get. Because if I can give them $5, but I've changed the way they think, they're going to make that $5 count. So that was big for me. So I said, man, what am I gonna do? So I got into, I had to drop one of my flips. It was more than we thought it was, and I dropped it. And then I'm like, what am I gonna do? Because I had the bright idea of taking half of the roof off on a flip illegally over the weekend. And the freaking thing, the people come through, the county comes through, they give me a red sticker.
What did it lead you to, Bryan?
Nah.
What was the next thing?
So I started figuring out, well, I'm gonna build this up. Let me see how I can build it up. So everything I've always, as my hack has always been like, how do I find the plug, right? Coming from the streets is like, how do I get to the main guy without having to pay all these extra fees? So I said, man, who are the key players? So it's a general contractor, architect, engineer, and so on and so forth, a general contractor, all that stuff, right? So I need those guys.
Money guy.
I went and found all those guys. And just like the flip, in my first flip, I hired Mohamed Karbashian. He got Karbashian. A lot of people know him, and he was charging me 10% for project management. Right, so I said, great. I mean, he probably charges a lot more now. And what I did is I let him take me through the process of my first flip, and I watched him, and I wrote everything down that he was doing. I hired him for a second time and never hired him again after that because I knew enough to keep the projects going. Now, when I figured out what it took to build the house, man, it took us a year to build this house. And it was a little house in Azalea Park. It was a small one, and we did it where we built a 2023 house that looked like the 1955 house. That's how naive I was, right? We didn't change the look of it or nothing. We just replicated the same thing that was there. But within that was a lot of learning. I learned a lot. I met with the architects and the engineers just to see what everybody played, what role everybody played.
So,
yeah.
Oh, keep going.
So once I understood that, We finished that house. I was like, shit, I can do this again. So we started getting, so my biggest asset, and you have to know what your biggest asset is and where you're going. Success means something different for everybody. Mine, I'm working towards a 50 million net worth, right? And I got 7 years to do it. So I got to work very aggressive.
So you got a plan. So what I'm hearing, I'm just going to
What
summarize
the fuck
that.
is this?
I know it's
Shit.
it's funny because I'm
like
always like
Arctic
turn the
glass.
AC up, and then and the person that's sitting there is always not loving it. You can switch over if you
No,
want.
you're good, you're good.
So what I'm hearing is you have a plan. It's a big vision.
Yeah.
50 million, 7 years.
Yeah.
You realize that you're not gonna get there just selling homes.
Correct.
And you started making moves. The first thing you did was essentially found a mentor of some sort.
Yes.
Assembled the team. Paid someone what it cost to learn how to do it.
Yeah.
Paid them twice to make sure you knew how to do it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I got this. And you went out and learned by not failing forward because you seem to have succeeded, but maybe didn't do it great the first time.
Sure.
And now you're going on to bigger and better things. I'm going to jump to Mo because I feel like this describes his story too, because I see him nodding his head. Mo, would you say that you've been through essentially the same thing? Could you tell us a little about your mentor and how you got into it?
Sure. So I'm not gonna sugarcoat. I spend over $100,000 a year on mentorship because, like Gil said, you got to invest in yourself first. So I always been a proponent of that. So I remember when I first started at Keller Williams, I flew out to Arizona to meet a guy named Brett Tanner who was selling 500 houses a year, and he gave me the blueprint. Literally, just gave me his entire business plan and exactly how he was doing what he was doing. I just came back and modeled that, and then. That's how I sold 50 houses my first year. My second year, 76 houses, and then scaled to over 100 houses a year. And then fast forward later, I learned about wholesaling, and I went to a mentor, and I think I wholesaled a couple properties, just the little basics of it. But I came back and I wholesaled 36 properties the next year. Then I went the next year, I met another mentor. I think at that point I had probably like 6 or 8 rental properties. And this guy had 1,600 rental properties. So I came back, and within 12 months, I had over 100 rental properties in my portfolio. So all I do is model success. That's my secret. I don't reinvent
Write this
anything.
down. Comes from Tony Robbins. FTM, FTM. I know Gil and Lorena know this, but find the mentor, or find the master, follow the model.
Yeah, the secret to success is find your passion and go find someone who's doing what you want to do at the highest level possible, and pay them to learn as much as you can from them. Make sure they're real people. They're not. There's a lot of posers out there, but it's easy to tell who a poser is and who not a poser is by the ticket they charge. So I'm in rooms now that I pay $36,000 a year just to be inside of 4 times a year. But I can tell you who's not in that room. Jokers. There's no one in that room that's not a millionaire or multimillionaire, because who can afford to pay $36,000 a year for mentorship if they're trying to fake it? But
Getting the right room is a big part of it.
Yeah, and that'll help you level up really, really quickly. So invest. I would say if you only had $100,000 to start or $10,000 to start, don't go buy a house. Invest in yourself. Invest in mentorship. Invest in someone. Invest in a database as well, because who else is in those rooms? Investors who have a lot more money than you do, who are much further along in the path, and you can just be a deal finder. Your first deal, you don't need money like Bryan said, I borrowed $20,000 against my credit card for my first deal. That was my credit card limit. I just moved to Orlando 3 months before. I didn't know anything about Orlando. I bought a house on 42nd Street, and it was just a condemned home, and I was like, all right, it's all I can afford. So I bought the house. I was cold calling a lot at that time. I met someone who I was short selling their house. I showed up. The guy had painter clothes on, so I called him. I said, hey, Tony, I was like, can you partner with me on this house? I have no idea how to even swing a hammer. So he went in, he flipped the property. I said, I'll give you 40% of the profit. You do all the work. And anyways, fast forward, we ended up selling it for $50,000. I showed up at the closing table for the final walkthrough, and the police were at the house. And I was like, oh, my God, what's happening right now? This is like my first flip. I'm nervous. And then I pull up to the house, and I'm like, what's wrong? And the police officer came up to me and shook my hand and said, hey, thank you. This house has been a problem house for us for a long time. I'm glad someone bought it and turned it around. And that was really inspiring for me to continue the journey.
Love it. All right, before I ask you guys about how you got into other deals, commercial, land deals, developing, because I know both of you are doing stuff like that, I want to share something Bryan made me think of, and I didn't want to cut him off. But he talked about Cheplack saying the distance between the thought and the action, right? He said that's the key to success. So there's a story about Michael Jackson's manager, and he talked about Michael Jackson would call him in the middle of the night when he had an idea. He'd call him at 2 a.m, and he'd say something like, "Remember blue lilacs?" And he'd be like, "What? What is wrong with you?" He's like, "Blue lilacs." And he'd be like, "Blue lilacs? It's 3 a.m. What the hell are you doing?" You know? And he would say, "I need to remember this, or Prince is going to get the idea." He had this belief that the universe, that ideas or thoughts in your head come from somewhere else. Like, you ever just get a thought and you're inspired to do something? Well, where does that come from? He had this belief that there's some kind of creator or universal force or something that gives you that thought, and if you don't take action on it, it gives it to someone else. So he actually believed that if he didn't write the hit song, that idea would hit Prince next. And he'd write the hit song that was in his head because he didn't take action. So if you get something here today that makes you take action, I'm telling you right now, if you don't take action, there's someone in this room that's going to get the same exact inspiration, and they're going to go buy that house, flip that property, make that move because you're scared of it. So I just had to share that story real quick.
It's kind of true, right?
And it's, well, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know the science behind it, but it's definitely true that he believed in it. Let's talk about some of the deals you guys got into, Bryan. Let's talk about how you, what types of deals you're doing now, and what some of the bigger, like I promised in an email that we talk about 6 and 7 figure opportunities, and you guys are the ones that I think talked a little bit about, working on bigger ticket, bigger margin deals. Tell me a little bit about some of that. And how you transitioned to them.
So for me, it was definitely through the development and stuff. Once I was able to say, well, I'm not a GC, I'm not any of those things. I'm the developer, right? I'm putting the deal together. So I've really just kind of bunkered into my relationship. And talking about the mentors real quick, it's great. You can have any mentor you want, but you really got to be real with yourself about what you can absorb. A lot of times you go into a room, everybody talks about this high-minded shit, right? You may not be ready. It's happened to me a bunch of times. I may walk away with some things that necessarily, maybe help me out, but, you're going to probably walk it. So, you got to just be conscious of how much you're willing to do or how much you can understand, right? That was big for me. Now, moving forward, because I lost a lot of deals that now we look back and we talk about, like, shit, can we go back and see if they still have that available? And we're talking about years that have passed, right? So I got into nurturing more relationships. We got into nonprofits. Nonprofits, a lot of times, have properties that have been donated to them from some stabilization programs that exist from the foreclosed properties and stuff like that. So we found a few that had land and stuff like that. So it was a great opportunity that was given to us because of trust, because of relationship. There was nothing else involved. And I said, hey, man, what are you guys doing with that land? No, we're not doing, we can't do anything because of this, and that. I said, what if I raised the money and built it out for you? Would you guys be willing to split some of the profit with us? Yeah. Then we dictated the profit that we were going to get on it, and they loved it because it's just a piece of land that's sitting there that nothing could happen with, and we built our first couple of units that way. Moving forward, I partnered up with some people that were already building for like 2 years, and I said, hey, man, I'd really like you guys to help me out on this big project that I want to put together, which never came together because it was way lofty, way out of my reach, and it was just how I was thinking. It fell apart. But I got the relationship with them, and we started doing a build. So we started building, so I was paying for my mentorship, and I was making profit. Because we're building a house, I'm learning with them, and at the same time, I'm going to make $100,000 on it. So it was, I loved it, it worked for me. We ended up doing another one after that, and then I realized, guys, you got to know what your strength is. I create opportunities. I don't have a single penny, but I have the ideas, and there's 2 things you need in business, ideas or money. If you have the ideas, find somebody with money. If you have the money, find somebody that has great ideas. Or maybe you have both of them, In this case now, we're getting to the point where we have both of them, right? So we're moving a little bit better, and we're getting more investors now. We started playing with other people's money. Hey, so a lot of realtors in our surroundings, hey, my mom has $150,000. She wants to invest it for a year. Great, I'll give her X amount. Cool, boom, send it. I mean, we're talking about promissory notes. We're talking about simple contracts, and people, it's all trust. So fast forward to now, we're doing a few single-family house projects, but we just landed our biggest one now, which we're closing on next week, and it's a house in Winter Park. So the house it exists. We're buying it for $500,000. We're roughly going to put about $600,000 into building, and we're going to sell it for $2.5 million by Christmas.
7-figure spread.
By Christmas.
By Christmas. That's a nice Christmas gift.
So,
I hope you're gonna
that's
give me
where
something
we're
nice for
headed
Hanukkah.
to. I say that to say we're going to probably, this Tuesday that just passed, I went and talked to the guys that I was partnered up with, not legitimately, and then offered them a 12-month joint venture. hey guys, because I see and I analyze these businesses and I know where they're failing. Contractors, all these guys, they have a lot of strong assets as far as what they provide, but their systems, how they move, how they work, sucks ass. A lot of them, most of them, I don't know every of them, but a lot of them do. So I say, hey guys, I can systemize you this way. I can bring the opportunities. All I need you guys to do is this, this, and that.
So you're acquiring a contractor or a roofing company or something like this, something related to the home.
And then on top of that, you know, because I almost forgot, you know, we're starting to analyze businesses that are attached to us, like roofing, painters, electricians, and I'm talking to them about their business so I can come in and get a piece of it as well, because it all makes sense since we're already working together, and it creates different income, you know, avenues as well. So we're going into that now for the next 12 months. So we're excited about where that's going to go. Ultimately, you know, we've just started acquiring properties. It's been a lot of flipping, a lot of that stuff, because the number is so big and so quick that we're like, for small businesses, the most important thing is a big cash pile coming your way, right? Because if not, you're like constantly growing slowly. But if you get these big hits, like maybe this house and a few other things that are coming our way, then you get in front of it and you're able to, you know, do different things. So that's where we're at. And honestly, I think the stop, you know, when we get to the point, we're looking to probably be some apartment complexes where we can say we step away.
I'm going to switch it to Mo now. Mo, how about you? What are you working on now?
So there's levels to this game. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about the levels.
I love it.
Because we all trade time for money, and there are certain activities that you can take that are much higher dollar producing activities. So I think moving up the ladder towards time versus money is, you know, being a real estate agent is great, but you probably trade the most time for money. You're answering your phone call all the time if you're a buyer's agent. Then obviously you move up to a listing agent, you make a little bit more money. I think wholesalers are probably next on that level. And that's kind of like my journey that I'm going through. And you make a fast profit because every deal is like no inspection period, no appraisals, no contingencies, close in 2 weeks, all cash. You know, you can make anywhere between $10,000 to $50,000. I ended up wholesaling a property one time, and we made $1.4 million profit on that. And we closed it in 3 weeks from start to finish. So think about your value of time on that transaction. Now, the next one is flipping properties. If you have the correct leverage and eventually you have a really good team of contractors that you barely have to manage, like you have a project manager that does all the work for you. I've flipped so many properties. I showed up there the first day to walk the contractor through to give him his list, and I show up there the last day just like I would as a buyer on a new construction property, and I red tape everything and say, hey, you guys got to button this up. And then, you know, everything else is leverage. The photographer is showing up, someone's putting the sign in the ground for you. How much time are you really spending on that? And then you're making, you know, let's say $40,000, $60,000, $80,000, $100,000 on a flip, and you're not really spending a lot of your time doing that. And then moving up the ladder, you just add another zero. So getting into my transition of the journey was wholesaling commercial real estate. I started wholesaling mobile home parks, and I started making anywhere between like minimum $100,000 all the way up to $400,000 or $500,000 checks on assignment fees. And then once I went through that process a couple times, then I started buying my own commercial properties, and minimum flip on a commercial property is $400,000. That's for like a small one. But we have deals in the pipeline now that are multiple millions of dollars. We have one right now we bought for $10 million. It's a 60-acre development. We're going to flip that for $20 million. So imagine trading that time for money. And when you're doing a $10 million plus deal, you have teams of people doing work for you. You don't have to do anything. I literally do absolutely nothing. I have partners. There's 7 partners on that deal. Everyone has their role, and I'm just an LP in the fund. Like, I don't even have to do any work. We're building 87 townhomes in Lakeland, and I haven't even seen the damn property, to be honest with you. But that's the levels that you can get to, because as you grow as an investor and you become what's called an accredited investor, it opens up so many doors for you. Now you can partner on 1,000-unit apartment complexes. And even if you
What's that mean for people that don't know?
So an accredited investor means you make at least $400,000 a year combined household income, or you have $1 million net worth excluding your primary residence. But once you get to that level, it becomes easy. You know, making your first $100,000 is probably the hardest thing to do. Making your first $1 million is really difficult to do, but not as hard if you have $100,000. Once you have $1 million, making the second $1 million is inevitable. And that's the truth. You really have to grind, hustle, and scrape and save your way to wealth in the beginning. But once, like, you know, there was a point in time where I had 90-something rental properties, and I was making $60,000 a month, and I had my income from my other businesses, like being a realtor or having the wholesaling company, and that money was just expendable. So every 3, 4, 5 months, there's another $400,000 in that bank account that I didn't even see or touch. What do I go do with that? I'm just going to go put $400,000 down payment on another $1.2, $1.5 million property, and it just keeps growing and compounding like crazy. So that was my journey, and that's what I went through so far. But now I'm invested in probably $30, $40 million in projects.
I'm going to ask you 2 questions that I think are important, and then I'm actually going to ask Gil a question. So what do you think the biggest mistake people that haven't broke through 6 figures yet are making is? And then I want to hear the biggest mistake people that haven't broke through 7 figures yet are making. Just hold that for a second.
They don't believe in themselves. They don't believe that it's possible. And the truth is, it's all in your mind. It's all mindset. I remember, I know Bold is going on right now, or Keller Williams, but going to Bold really switched my mindset and helped me fight those demons that I had in my head. I mean, when I became an agent, all my friends, all my family was down on me. If I say, hey, I'm going to become an investor, everyone is doubting you too. But you have to be able to push through and believe in yourself and believe that it's possible. And I think that your only barrier to success is you not believing in yourself, number 1. And number 2, you're fearful of success. You're scared of what it's going to take to get there. That means no more Netflix and chill, no more nights out every weekend. You actually have to save money and sacrifice. So I think a lot of people are afraid of what it's going to take to be successful, and that's what stops them from doing it.
I'm going to ask you about the 7-figure one, too. That was a 6-figure answer, right? Bryan, how about you? What do you think? What do you think the biggest mistake people that haven't broke through it yet?
I think people are dreamers. Everybody's a big dreamer. I don't think everybody's a believer. You know, you can dream all types of things, but you got to be able to see yourself in it. That's it for me. I mean, I was a millionaire when I was 20 years old, selling drugs. So it's, I'm sorry, but, so I got that experience. And I got to see what that was, and I got really good at wasting it. So for me, it was being less wasteful, and I think that's a big part. You got to look at your life and how you grew up and what you've been taught and all that. For me, my mom was like, "Yo, get a fucking job. Go get a paycheck. Stop. You're coming out of prison. Stop dreaming so much." This is my mom telling me this. So imagine what that turns into my mind if I allow it to fester. But at that point, I was already locked in on what I wanted. So I think I did it my second year as far as the 100,000, but. It's that. It's just how you see yourself. You're, all of us out here are a reflection of what we see inside right now, whether it's financial, love. You look at Facebook sometimes and you see the people that are always negative or they're always going through a relationship and all that. That's who they are inside. They're showing it. You look at my page, I'm always fucking telling jokes or something. That's how I am. I deal with life through humor.
Love it.
I've seen the opposite side. Trust me, there's nothing good about it, so I like to live in this side all the time.
Love it.
And it works well for
I'm
me.
going to ask you guys about the 7, but I'd say that they aim too low. The people that talk about breaking that don't realize until they finally hit it that wasn't a lot of money. Yeah. And there's like he said, there's levels to this shit. Yeah. I remember being in college saying I wanted to make 6 figures as a college student, and I kept falling just short. I was 55, 65, 75, 85. And then all of a sudden when I broke it, I was like, that wasn't even a lot of money. And looking back, it's the number of years spent chasing a goal that wasn't even big enough to demand enough out of yourself is the problem that a lot of people have, is they have these goals that aren't lofty enough. They only want to sell X amount, or they only want to make X amount, or they only want to slightly tweak what they did last year, and they don't there's a book right now that says 10X is easier than 2X. Y'all read that book? If you haven't, grab the book, Dr. Benjamin Hardy, who's actually from here. He's a great writer. But he talks about how you have to change your level of thinking to 10X. 2X, you just work harder. People think they're going to outwork the number and they're going to double what they do, but they have to change the entire approach if you're trying to add a 0 to it. But let's hear the mistakes for 7.
So us as realtors, we're an egotistical bunch. There's not a realtor on this planet that doesn't have an ego, to be honest with you. So when you get past the $100,000 mark, it's easy to think that you're successful, and you're going to start separating yourself from a lot of your peers because not a lot of people have achieved your success of 100,000, 250,000, 500,000. If you have that in the bank, you're going to think that you're pretty cool, and that's actually going to slow your growth. So what I do is I surround myself with people that make me feel really insignificant, and that helps me grow. When I go to these seminars, I am blown away. So in my normal circle, being in a lot of the rooms I go in, a lot of people are, begging me up or seeking advice from me. and there's not a lot that I can take from a lot of people. But when I go to these groups, and the minute I show up within the first 5 minutes, I am extremely humbled because their goals really excite me and help me learn and grow. So I think one of the biggest things to leveling up is to get in a bigger room. My goal is to make $1 billion in 30 years, and I've shared my spreadsheets in the past, but I'm on track for making $7 billion, which when I tell people about that goal, they think I'm like retarded. And they just look at me like and walk away. But the truth is, if I set my goal that high and I only make 100 million, I'll be happy with that. But you got to set the bar high, like Aaron was saying.
Love it. Anything you want to add to that, Brian, before I ask you guys more questions?
No, I think he hit it pretty much on the head. You just gotta know what you want. You gotta know what you're working towards, because you're working every day, and you don't want to be 50, 60, 100 years old, and you're still doing the same thing, saying the same thing. God damn, it's cold. Yeah, so that's what I've done, because just like he says, he wants to do 3 billion, 5 billion. It's super doable, but for me, I already know what I need. I know I need 150, 200 passive income a month.
Love it.
And that allows me to live the life I want. I don't want to work anymore after
Mo,
that.
what's your goal too?
That.
By the way, because I think both of y'all are thinking huge, and
So,
you both haven't figured out.
Yeah,
what,
I mean,
what's
my goal is 100,000 a month net passive income. But the truth is, like, my goal is to be a hard money lender, and I started dabbling at that last year, and I ended up making like $600,000 just lending money out, and it was pretty easy. It comes with its problems. Loans do go into default here and there, and you have to work through it. But as long as it's collateralized, like, my goal is to get again to a certain level and just, I don't want to flip houses. I don't want to deal with toilets. I'd rather just be the lender on the deal. And even if it's a 8 to 12% return, I'm good with that, and I can sail into the sunset. Like, for example, if I have $10 million in my bank account and I'm making 10% interest on that, because what hard money lenders do is once you take that loan, they sell that debt. So I can go buy the debt. It balloons in 12 months or 6 months. I can understand the deal because I live here in Florida. I know what it takes to be a house flipper. I know what the ARV is on the house, what kind of work it needs, so I can protect myself. But if I'm making 10% on $10 million, that's $1 million a year. I'm going to sail into the sunset and be gone.
Love it. Y'all, give them a round of applause so far. I'm going to ask one or two more questions. I'm going to let Mario, I'm going to let you jump in too. But really quickly, I want y'all to pull out your phones and just mark this on your calendar. And the date is May 15th. We're actually, just to make sure I'm real clear on this, May 15th will be the only month that we are up the street at Enzion Theater. We will not be here. We will be at the Enzion, which is like 2 minutes from here. You could almost walk. So if you screw it up, we're up the street. Enzion Theater, and next month we're going to be talking about dominating the hyperlocal market. We have Kevin Kendrick, Matt McKee, and Karen Wilkins. They all ranked in the top 50 last year. They're all badasses at hyperlocal farming, stuff like that. They're going to be coming out. So make sure you sign up on Eventbrite. Grab your spot. There's 100 free tickets, and then we charge you $10. So if you were here and you end up paying, it's your fault because we don't take attendance. So you might as well pull your phone out and sign up while you can. Gil, tell us about the West Art District. And Mario, come on up here. Just while he does that. Left button. Left button until it's on.
One thing I'll tell you about the belief portion. As a kid, and you probably should teach your kid this, like I remember selling blow pops for a nickel, and I said, man, I wonder what it would be like if I could make $1 a day. If I could make $1 a day, I'm killing it. $5? And then I was like, oh man, what if I could make $10 a day? Like I make $10 a day, and then time goes by, and you're like, dude, I want to make $100 a day, right? And I was like, $1,000 a day? Could I imagine making $1,000 a day? It's just $365, right? But then you start expanding, and you're like, okay, I'm going to buy this $1 million project, right? I go to this building. I'm like, this is the one. Write it up. And my partner at the time was like, that's great, but how are we paying for it? Don't bother me with that. I'll figure it out. Because what you have to understand is you're not buying $1 million property, and right now we're under a contract to buy a $4 million property we're closing next month on. When you're buying that property, you're buying the down payment, right? And sometimes the down payment, like you guys mentioned, you guys are fucking great, by the way. I want to pick your head. In fact, I'm going to invite you guys to the Magic game for the first game that we play here. I'm a huge Magic fan, so I'm going to put you guys in my suite. Like, we're going to talk some more. Yeah, against the Celtics. Sunday? Okay. No, Sunday's away. Next Tuesday. All right, so you're Orlando Magic. So anyway, so you start believing something different. Like, all I got to do is come up with $200,000 to buy $1 million property. And by the way, we sold that property for $4 million, right? $4.3 million, right? The next project we buy was $2 million. We sell that property, right? But what you're doing is you're moving money through, right? And you're just trading a new belief. Like, we went to go became a millionaire, and like one day our account calls up, hey, you guys are 10 million. I'm like, okay, well, then what's next, right? So he's like, I'm 100 million, a billion, like that. He's like, and one thing you said was like, at some point it's inevitable, right? Because your money will make you money. And all you're doing is trying to get to that spot where you can take yourself out of the equation and your money can always work harder than you can, right? You put your position to kind of go. And I will tell you this one last piece that really kind of drove my belief was there's this thing called the freedom number. And you can pay somebody to teach you this formula, but it's like really simple. Like if you know exactly what you'd like to have for the rest of your life, how much money you would want. Let's just say you said, hey, if I had 200 grand, just like to me a low number, a year coming in passively, how much, if I had that every year and all my bills were paid off, could I live off that? You said, yes, great. All you got to do is take $200,000, open up your calculator, do this right now. Open your calculator, it's not a suggestion, do it right now. Open your calculator, take your number, whatever your freedom number, maybe it's 400 grand. I need 400 grand a year and I can live the life I want. Divide that number by 5%. And that's the number you've got to go after, right? That's the number you've got to go after. And the easiest way is just take it piece by piece. Like we have a saying, like, how would you eat an elephant? You got to eat an elephant, like how would you do it? One bite at a time. So if your number was like, hey, I want to make $400,000 a year and have that passively for the rest of my life, you divide it by 5%, you say, okay, well, how many houses do I need to buy for my net worth to get to that number and have them pay themselves off? And then my money will work for me for the rest of my life. And that's what we're all working for. So keep it simple, but keep it consistent. You know, I love the fact that Mario said that, you know, it can be a little bit chaotic from time to time, because I related to that. I was like, yep, I felt that one, right? Because sometimes we're just managing priorities, right? But the reality is at some point, it's kind of like that Matrix moment when the guy is like avoiding the bullets. He just realized, oh, I can slow this down. I've been here before. I know what to expect. I can handle this. And it doesn't feel like chaos. It feels like a high. And that's why you keep saying that, get high on your own supply, right? I finally got that click in my head. Just like, because the truth of the matter is, it's like, it gets exciting. It gets fun. Right now, you're in a part of your life that may not be that fun, chasing things down. You're constantly fighting for this listing and blah, blah, blah. But if you understand what you're doing and becoming I am an investor agent, I can think bigger, right? You can unlock stuff today. You could write a contract Friday. You could find a deal and partner with somebody. Like there's an opportunity for you to level up, and then it just comes in chunks.
Love it. He also learned from you, so there's not a shocker you both have. I'm just kidding. Let's give Gil a round of applause. Let's give all the panelists a round of applause. I'm going to ask them just one last question or so, and then we'll wrap it up. By the way, there are pub subs in the back when we break because of PJ and his team at Element Mortgage. Let's give them a round of applause. They bought the food, so stick around and grab some. But Mario, you had something to add, and then I just want to get last thoughts from anyone, that last words of wisdom or things you wish we talked about.
Well, I noticed here another common denominator. I don't know if you guys noticed, but all of us here have a number in mind. Gil brought it up, right? All of us have a number in mind and probably have been working on that number for a couple of years. Mine's been 20 million since I was 25. So since I was 25, my goal is to get $20 million net worth, because I know that if I get there, the money that I've been making passively is going to lead me to a life that I enjoy without working. So essentially, aim for the stars, land on the clouds, and chase your dreams.
You probably need like 29 now because inflation the last few
That's
years.
right.
Just the thought. Love it. Mo, anything you want to add or share?
Yeah, so I want to tell you guys a story about the beginning for me. And the beginning for me was a small office in a COE with no windows. And the first 3 years, all I did was make 100+ cold calls a day, every single day in this little room with a small team. And I just went on appointments and just put as many appointments on my calendar as possible. And honestly, it was probably working like 70 to 80, 90 hours a week. I would come home. My kids would be sleeping. I'd wake up. I'd be gone before they woke up. I wouldn't even see my family. But the one thing I think that helped me a lot in the beginning was actually going to Aaron's top producer events and having that release and having someone that actually celebrated us as agents was actually huge for me. And being in those rooms with the top 500 agents and watching my mentors and getting to see them in person and ask them questions helped me learn and grow so much. So first and foremost, Aaron, thank you.
I paid him to say that, by the way, so we could wrap this up with. Thank you.
Thank you for making this entire journey fun and memorable for me, you know, because it wouldn't have been the same without you and your awesome parties. And number two, all the people that I've met there that have inspired me, like, you know, Veronica Figueroa, Ron the Realtor, Jenny Weimer, like all those people back then, I don't know if they still are, but they were selling thousands of houses a year. And just to have the opportunity to go there and ask them questions, like, really inspired me to want to be better. And I think within that first year of interviewing them and learning from them, you know, I ended up being in the top 100 agents. And it was solely because of coming to events like that where I had the opportunity to meet those people. So thank you, Aaron.
Love it. Speaking of that, come back here next month, May 15th. Learn from 3 of them. Bryan, you want to bring us home with any last thoughts?
Yeah, I snuck into the first top 500.
Yeah. We had to kick him out.
That was the Ray Lopez. Remember Ray had that list, serious stuff because I wanted to be in the room. I was like, shit, I got to get in there and see what they're talking about.
I still have the videos. I'm rolling around on a walker.
Yeah. So I got in there, and, you know, I'm friends with, like you said, a lot of the same people, Jenny, everybody, and they've been a great contributor to my success, especially in my case, people have known my story and they have poured into me, and I'm super thankful. Even you, Aaron, and the top 500 and everything has been super helpful for me. So just be aware of what you're willing to do, what your track record is. A lot of times, you know, even when it comes to hiring people and stuff like that, I don't look so much to someone that has a sales background or a real estate background. It's what's your track record. Even if you're coming from, you know, TGI Fridays, you know, how long were you there? What did you do when you started? How, you know, did you progress? Did you end up as a manager when you left? Those are very critical because that's how that person is going to perform. So do a self-check. You know, how am I really living? We tend to forget how we're living because we're in the moment all the time. And I'm always scrutinizing myself in a healthy ways on a daily basis. And I know what I can do, what I'm willing to do, and what I'm not. So as far as real estate goes, if you want to have a big team, then create it. It'll get you there. If you want to have a small team, if you want to be just figure out what you want to do, because at the end of the day, I had to do that. I didn't want a big team. I tried it. I had 4 or 5 people on the team. It's just, it doesn't work for me. You know, I'm not saying that it's not a great thing to do. You brokerages, all this other stuff. It works for you. The moment you feel like it's not gonna, then change the trajectory and be the best where you're at, because it's gonna help you on the next side of it as far as real estate.
Love it. Let's give it up for all 5 people that spoke today. If you two could jump up so we can get a picture. Bryan, come on up. And go grab some food. Come back and join us May 15th. Go see PJ. He's got subs. Thanks, y'all.